Well, hello everyone. It is so good to see you. Welcome back to Busy Talk. We missed you. It's been a while. However, we are glad to be back. To my right is our longtime friend Kay. We are so glad to have her here.
Hey guys.
Of course, to our left is my wife, Jendai.
Hi.
And this is James on Busy Talk. So today, what are we going to do? We are absolutely going to have a good conversation with you guys today. We would love for you to comment down below, like, share, and subscribe. And what will we be using? Tonight's conversations, relationship debate. This is not an endorsement. However, it is in fact a great conversation starter called Relationship Debates or Tonight's Conversations, where you have all kinds of conversations that we can talk about, topics that we can talk about. And I would love to hear your thoughts on some of the questions that we're going to go ahead and ask. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and ask some questions. That's what we're going to start by doing. We're going to all be able to share our opinions, thoughts, and you let us know what you think. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first one. The first question is, an old sex tape of you and your ex leaks online. You tell your current significant other, and they ask you to send them footage. We're going to cut this particular question out of this video. But we're going to keep moving on to the second one. A man is dating two women. He lies to one about this and is truthful with the other. Which relationship does he value more?
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll start. That sounds like a side chick situation to me. Because but then again, it's hard because I don't know if y'all remember the movie Baby Boy, and he was telling her like, I lied to you because I care about your feelings, right? And that was his main chick. So I guess the question is like, you're lying to the one you love, right?
Yeah.
Because why would you tell him that, hey, I got a whole other situation over here?
So he values the woman that he's lying to, it seems like, because he's lying because he wants to keep that name.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, I guess is just the one he's telling the truth to. I guess he maybe just having fun with the other person.
Yeah.
So I guess he values the one that he's lying to.
I can see that. I can definitely see that as being, but I also find it kind of interesting because I know that in a certain respect, what if the guy is, truthful to the person that he wants to be in a relationship with? It's not necessarily a serious relationship,
I guess my question with that is like, why would you ruin your chances of being in a relationship?
That's true.
Like, no woman, well, let me not say no woman, most women or some women who, is not going to tolerate another situation. They're not going to stand around and be like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I know you're, thanks for being honest. Like,
No, that's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
I mean, but why lie to the other person if you just don't? If you want to be with the person you're telling the truth there, why is the other person in the picture
at
anyway?
all? Right. It's like, it's pointless.
Sometimes you just want to have your cake and eat it too. Now, I'm not saying that I particularly
Well, then
subscribe.
look at me.
Oh yeah, I mean, but
There are other people who are okay with that.
That's true. But being in a polygamous relationship, from my understanding, is that can be a little bit difficult to have to balance two people. Now, obviously, it's difficult.
That's
Well,
Yeah.
when you're with polygamy, you're all in a relationship
together.
together. So
Yeah.
you take care of each other. All three of you guys.
Well, no, I
take
thought
care
it
of
was
each other.
separate relationships, though.
A polygamy? Oh, when I'm thinking about polygamy, I'm thinking about you are in a relationship with
That's
multiple
poly.
people.
That's poly. Is that poly? Okay, I don't want to be a polygamy.
Polygamy.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I just think that you should be in a relationship where
yeah.
everybody knows about the situation and
Yeah.
everybody is okay with it.
Yeah, my sister wife.
Yeah.
Now, let's be clear.
I'm upset that I watched that show. My sister wives, they have like a whole system going on.
Yes.
They live in a cul-de-sac together. All the
Yes.
wives live in separate homes. And, they all know that, they are wives, equal.
So,
Yeah. So.
And they help each other out in their relationship.
Yeah.
Well, not now because he down to one wife. But but they did when they were. But when they were.
Sometimes it don't work forever.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
Yeah, sometimes it don't work forever. But
I think
he values the one that he likes.
But I think that in reference to this particular question that we're having, it's not a matter of who's right versus wrong. We already kind of are under the assumption or the idea that he's wrong. So we get that. The question is, who does he love more?
That's it.
And so, no, I know. So what I'm saying is, I do think that we, all agree that, we think that the person he's lying to will in fact be the person that, That is it.
Oh, no, that was a good first question.
All right, let's see. Question number 2. If you go through your significant other's phone and don't find anything incriminating, would you tell them?
No.
Why or why?
Yeah, no. Okay.
What am I telling you for?
It's not about honesty.
I look at the phone. I will, if I don't see anything,
You're good. You bet your body like today.
So let me ask you this question then, because all right, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always hear this idea that omission is also lying. So,
but that's not omission if you didn't ask. Omission only works when you ask and someone does not tell you everything.
So is a person wrong for doing something even if they should tell their significant other, but they decide not to?
No.
And so if your significant others ask you, hey, what did you do, tonight?
Okay, see, then that would be wrong because you specifically asked me a question. But
it wasn't asking you about did you go through my phone? It was, hey, what did you do tonight? Are you going to be like, I'm going to go?
I made supper. I did laundry. Yeah.
So is that technically omission?
No, because he's not asking me, hey, did you go through my phone? And I'm like, well, what do you mean going through your phone? Like, you asked me what I did tonight. And I'm telling you, coming in from work, and you're like, hey, how was your night? What did you do? I made dinner. I put the kids to sleep. I did laundry. That's not omission.
Okay, that's interesting.
So what do you feel about it?
I ain't saying nothing.
Would you say something?
No. I'm not saying
You
it.
think a guy? Okay, so reverse. If a guy went through the girl's phone and didn't find anything, would the guy say something?
I think that there are some people who could, but me personally, I don't think that there's a reason to say anything, because if you do, then I think you risk having that person feel like you don't trust them.
Right.
You don't want them to validate that.
I mean, you don't trust them. You don't trust them because you're going through their phone.
Right.
You don't trust them. But you don't want them to know you don't trust them.
Now, the question that is not asked, but should certainly also be put in context, is did they do something prior that may cause you?
Very good question.
Like, had they, if that person, man or woman, because men and women cheat essentially at about average the same amount, but if the individual did some cheating before, right, is it justified more for you to then be able to say, you know what, I did go through your phone, and are they supposed to then just allow that and be like, okay? Or is it going to be a matter of, you know what, I thought we were working on trust, you're supposed to trust me now?
Me personally, if you were to come to me, babe, and tell me, or I asked you, or we had a conversation about you going through my phone, and I know that I haven't given you any reason, I guess my question would be, why don't you just ask me?
Well,
Because we have a relationship where you can come and ask me. So why would you not just? And I think it depends. It depends on what type of relationship do you have. Do you have a relationship where you can have that? Because my question is, me personally, I would be offended because I would be like, why are you looking at my phone? You could have just asked me. We have that relationship.
And that's the difference. I think that's where it comes down to it, is we have that relationship, but not everybody has that relationship where you are able to talk about any and everything, and so in those circumstances where you are not in a position of being able to talk about any and everything, is it better for them to ask that person off top? Because if they do, sometimes if you ask the person, can I see your phone? And they ask you, well, why do you want to look at my phone for?
So now I really want to look at your phone. To me, that's a red flag. I'm
yeah,
like,
but
so
then
now
to that other person, it might just be, this is my personal space. Why do you want to go in my personal space?
I mean, like I said, I think it depends on the relationship.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. That's a fair.
I think it depends. Because on the other hand, you could have somebody that will go through one's phone, maybe because they're doing it.
And they're trying to find new one you.
Yeah.
To justify them doing what they're
happens.
doing.
That happens.
That's very
true.
So I guess, I think it's things under the surface than just going through the phone. What led up to going through the phone? What type of relationship do you have? Is there trust? Was there something done where you looked at them like, maybe you need to go through your phone? You know, like what? So there's a lot to build up there.
I feel like it's interesting. So I feel like if it's under the context of, all right, you know what, your significant other, you both talk about honesty. Let's say after you've already had the infidelity, whatever the case may be, you're like, all right, you know what, we promised that we're going to talk about honesty, this, that, and the other. But you're not the one who was wrong in the relationship or whatever. Then I think at that point, for the sake of honesty, you can be like, listen here, I went through your phone because just wanted to make sure X, Y, and Z. I understand that it was probably upsetting or whatever. I didn't find anything, and just want to let you know, I didn't find anything. So I apologize. Well, or maybe you shouldn't apologize. I guess it really depends. If you're not the one who is doing the cheating, you shouldn't really have to apologize. But you could just say, I saw there was nothing in there, and I just kind of want to commend you. I just want you to know that I thank you for that.
I don't know. That's I feel like that can be counterproductive.
It could. They could get upset.
If you're on a path of reconciliation and you're trying to try trust, I think the problem is you probably should be going to their phone. If you're trying to try trust, you know what I mean? Because trust means that I am trusting that you're not doing anything. So trusting means that I can't go check up behind you.
That's hard, man.
I have to let it.
So is it a matter of blind trust or trust but verified?
No, it should just be trust. If you're working on trust, if you have trust and you're working on trust, it should just be trust. Period. It should just be trust. Because
what do you guys think? I am actually interested. Is it just trust? Put in the comments below. Trust or trust but verified? I am interested to hear what you say, and tell me why, please. All right, our next question that we're going to go through is, let's see. A woman asks a man to use the money he planned to spend on an expensive date to help her with a bill, and suggest they take a walk in the park instead. He refuses. Who is wrong?
Okay. I guess I put okay.
Is it being strategic or?
Yeah, because he's using the money anyway. And she said, never mind, you should take me on a walk. I'll take this and pay for a bill. I don't see a problem. Well, I guess it depends on how long you've been dating too. How long have you been dating? If you're talking about the first date.
Yeah, first date I'm probably but hypothetically, if you have already gone a couple of dates already, you guys already know each other, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. I mean, instead of using the money to pay for a dinner, if your date just doesn't really care to go to dinner and stuff like that, but you need help with something, I think that's okay. That's also, I feel like that's actually, I don't want to say test because I don't think people should be playing games. But when someone is down and somebody can be there for you, I think it's a good way to ask and see, especially if you're in a situation where maybe you're thinking about maybe this is the person for me, or stuff happens.
That's fair. How long should that? So, between the first date to that point that you're talking about, what would that time frame typically look like? Would you have been dating for a few months already, or are you talking 3 or 4 days?
It's about time.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because some people think that 3 or 4 dates into it, you guys should be at a certain level already, whereas other people may feel like.
Well, I think that's why
3 or 4 days dates depends on how, what, like, when is the fourth, was the fourth date, like, the second month you guys knew each other, like, you know.
Because there's a period that you've known each other. That's what I'm like, I think it depends on the relationship, not necessarily time. It depends on the relationship, how long have y'all been, like, talking. Because you're also talking in between these dates, too, getting to know each other better and all that stuff, too. So I don't think it can be, relegated to just, okay, date 4, this is considered a little bit more serious, so yeah, I'm more willing to, pay for your bills.
That's interesting because I think that some people literally just base their seriousness off of the amount of dates that they go on, not necessarily those phone calls that happen in between time, because the dates for some people, I think at least, represents your investment in it, not so much the conversations. Now obviously I personally think that a real relationship is not entirely based off of this specific date that you go on, but more specifically the conversations you have in between that build the relationship, and the dates simply kind of reinforce what it is that you're doing. But to be fair, I do think that so it was saying that he planned to spend the money on an expensive date. So
How'd she know when he spent it? Did he tell her?
Maybe he was like, get dressed, I'm taking you somewhere that is, somewhere that's going to be a little bit, like the person that you're dating, if he is saying, look, put on something nice, I got tickets for something. He's not going to say exactly what it is or whatever the case may be. Well, I want you to wear something nice. Typically, those things are indicators that this might not just be something that's like going to the park, or whatever. It might be a bit more money that's put into it. I don't think most times guys are going to tell you that they're taking you on an expensive date, but you can kind of gauge, if he's telling you little clues, stuff like that. And some people will gauge that and say, oh, well, instead of doing what you're doing, why don't you go and do this for me instead? Yeah. I feel like that's kind of wrong because honestly, also, like if a guy is honestly taking out his time to, if he's already set something aside, he's already spent his time to invest in it, on what he's looking for. That's his way of probably trying to show, or her way, since we're in a situation where sometimes, well, in this case is a woman asking a man, but sometimes some women want to do things that are nice for their guy too. And, imagine it's like you spend all that time, trying to, make something just right for, your husband, your significant other or whatever, right? And suddenly they're like, that's nice, but can you put this instead of something else? I feel like I would, especially if I don't usually have time to do it, but now I found the time and I am going to now invest in that, and then instead you tell me to put it towards something else. I think if it's a relationship that's probably lasted a while, I think it's okay that she probably asked. Especially if it's like, I have kids, especially if you have children, and things are a little bit tight right now. I'm sure the person you're with, will say, yeah, sure, I don't mind. And if they say no, then yeah, that might probably be an indicator of, well, I'm not sure, maybe this might be something I need to reconsider, right? But if it's something new and he says no, I don't think he's wrong. I think that she's wrong if she's asking.
Well, she's just asking. I don't think there's any. I don't feel like she's asking to be.
I think some guys.
I think she's just asking.
She is. But yeah.
I don't want it to be like when the lady asks for help. Now it's like, oh God, here she goes.
But those are honestly the first.
I feel like she's a woman is wrong for asking for help.
I don't think it's a matter of being right or wrong. Technically, it's like,
but I understand where you're coming from. I feel like it's nice that he wants to take her out on a date, and I don't necessarily agree that he should not take her on a date anymore and just give her money. But I also don't want it to seem like, it's wrong for a woman to ask for help.
I think from, I'm only strictly looking at it from the guy.
It's like a light bill too, or anything. Anything could happen with, with women, like, jobs and stuff like that. Things are always like up in the air. You never know, but I just don't
I do agree with what you're saying. I am looking from looking at it from a guy's perspective, right? Not all men, I certainly don't want to say all men, but some guys, it's like, okay, what if his history has been having girls who only want, especially if he's making a lot of money, has been dating girls who've always just been asking him for money. So you may come around, and even though you're different, you're like, you asking him that question, he's gonna probably be like, oh, here's another one asking me for money, instead of doing something nice that I want to do for her, she's asking me to now do a bill or something. Now, what am I, a piggy bank? And that might raise up a red flag in his eyes, until or unless he gets a chance to get to know you more. Right. And so, if he gets to know you more, then he's going to be like, okay.
So that's why I think this just goes back to the timing.
It's just that some guys won't give you that second chance.
Because I feel like a woman, like a nice, respectable, nice woman could just be like in a situation and could just genuinely really just need help on a one bill. I just don't feel like all women that ask for help with money is because they just want. I'm not saying that there aren't women like that. Yeah. There definitely are, but there can also be. I feel like there could also be women who are also nice, kind women who may have kids and may need like help with something, but they're genuine in heart and maybe they just really do need help with a bill. So it's like, it's confusing. Like, how can you tell if a woman's like, oh, I want to get my hair done or like get like breast like implants or something like that? It's not like she's asking for help on something that that she probably needs.
Yeah. Well, then let me ask you this then. What if it's the flip side? What if you instead are dating the guy wants to take you out on a date, he takes you out on a date, or whatever the case may be, but you make more money than that person does, or whatever the case may be, and then he asks you for help on a bill.
I mean, if we're dating, I'll help you. Especially if I know that you're working towards something.
I feel like a lot of women would typically write that guy off and say no. I'm not saying all women. Certainly not all women, because there's certainly like both of you, who may certainly see beyond just that. But I do think that there are some women who typically would just be like, well, no, why are you asking me? I want a guy who has all his stuff together.
Well, then he should be taking me on a date.
Well, yeah, but
why do I need to take him on a date if his ducks are already in a row? He should be taking me on a date then.
But what I'm saying is, what if he already did take you on a date, but now he's asking you to help for a bill?
Like, I think he's trying to say you guys are dating.
Okay.
And he's been, funding most of the dates, but then he's expressed to you like, hey, I can't, like, for instance, maybe he's like, I like to do something a little bit more inexpensive this time because, I want to take you out on a date. However, I got some bills that I need to pay. And, I mean, if you need help, can you pay for my bill?
Can you pay my telephone bills, automobile bills?
Yeah. I mean, if we've been dating, I would. If we've been dating,
he's a nice guy, a respectable guy, and he's just been very nice to me in the last couple of dates, and I'm really feeling him, and we've been cool and vibing, and he needs
so it wouldn't like raise off red flags or anything like that.
No, I think it would raise red flags if it's the first date, and then you're like, hey, can you help me pay a bill? Like, do I know?
If it's like the fourth time you're asking me for help, right?
You get one.
Okay.
After that, that's the problem.
Okay, so here's the next question on that. Is there a spending limit on that?
Yeah, because I know.
Would that same thing be the case for the woman asking the guy for it?
Yes, I think I don't look at it as man or woman. I look at it as person. I don't think you should be asking anybody, whether it's someone you're dating or not. I don't think you should be asking anybody for large amounts of money. You can figure that out.
What type of bill do you?
$70 bill or
okay,
like
$70.
$120 bill or something like that.
Yeah,
and he has a little bit. He don't have the whole amount, and he just needs help with the remaining amount.
So,
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not a
mortgage. You're asking me for a no.
I'm I ain't paying your mortgage.
Well, honestly, if you can't pay your mortgage,
then we got bigger problems.
Then you may not need to be living in that house. If you
Yes.
So woman or man.
Woman or man.
Woman or man, yes.
Sure. If you cannot
Well,
afford-
I'm only being clear because
But
I
that's
believe.
like a bill, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bill.
A bill, like a regular, like a light bill, like maybe a cell phone bill. Fine. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Especially if they took me on a whole bunch of dates and they just need help.
And I don't look at it as a man woman thing. I just think as a person, you should be financially in a spot to take care of yourself. I mean, because now I'm questioning, like, are you dating me because you want help?
Yeah, those are
Because then that's a
genuine
problem.
questions. Yeah.
Well, I don't care if you're a woman or a man. You shouldn't be dating someone because you're looking for help. You need to be a whole person. That includes mentally, physically, and financially before you get with someone else.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you there. All right, next question.
That was a good question.
I did like that question. That was very good. All right, so you ask your significant other if they still love their ex, and they say yes. What happens next?
I guess we need to. Okay, so me and you talk about this.
Yeah, we're talking.
We talk about this frequently. I don't think you just stop loving someone, right? Like, I don't think you just love someone one day and then tomorrow you don't. But in love with someone and loving someone are two different things. So, like, I would then ask, are you in love with them? Because that's the real question. Not do you love them, because I know you love them.
Yeah.
Because
You can't be in a relationship with someone and spend X amount of years.
yeah, and not and love them and
Not
then
love
just turn
them.
off the love factor. No,
Doesn't work that way.
you turn off the in love factor because you no longer have a romantic connection with them. But it doesn't mean that you stop loving them. So then, like I said, my question would then be, are you in love with them? So that will determine how mad I should really be. Because if you're in love with them, then we didn't have a problem. But if you're like, no, I just love them. Okay, cool. Next.
Okay, fair enough. That is fair. That is a fair question for sure. You know, and I do think that, yeah, if a person is still in love with their significant other, I even still give pause for that. It's not to say exactly, because honestly, the real reality is, why did that person break up in the first place? You know, and why are they now in a relationship with you?
Yes, because that's that. Because you can't be in love
You
with her
can't
or
necessarily
him
be in
and
love with
being
that
with
person.
me.
Yeah, because I do think that if you are in a brand new relationship, it is important that you've already kind of gone through that grieving period, and the, you know, counseling, et cetera, so that you can be ready to be in a new relationship. But in the case that you are in a situation where you are in love with your ex, such as what is asked here, what do you do is the question. You know what I mean?
It's not for me to be single again.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not going to be
It's time for me to
together.
be single again, unless the
So do you
other
think
person I'm with, unless it's like a friends and benefits situation and they know what it is, and like I'm not ready to be serious right now because I am still processing my feelings for the other person.
Right.
It's time for me to be single.
Do you think it would be that easy to just break up with that person?
Yes,
Like,
because
no,
you
like
love.
if I think that if you are in a relationship that has lasted maybe 5-6 months and you came to this question, then it's easy to break up with that person. But if you are, what I'm saying is, but if you are in a relationship now with someone, let's say that was up to 5 years.
And you still in love with your ex.
It happens. I mean, I'm not saying that it's something.
No, it may happen. It just ain't happening with me.
No,
We're
not-
definitely breaking up.
Yeah.
Like if it's 5 years later, I can say.
That's wasting
Because
your
my
time.
issue is you're in love, meaning like if you saw that person again,
You'll
like
be
you
back
have
with
an urge.
To-
You have an urge to want to spend time with them. Like you have an urge to want to be around them and want to like
all that stuff.
sneak around and hang out with them. Like that's an issue.
Yeah,
That's-
I can't.
That's an issue.
You said 5 years. I was with you with the 2
I had
months,
to ask.
maybe.
Yeah.
But 5 years. I'm like, no.
Okay,
We're
you
definitely
said two,
breaking
1
up.
year, 2 years.
All right, fine. 2 in 1 year then. Fine. 2 in 2 in 1 year.
You
know,
know,
see?
somebody else. That's still
That's
too
too
long.
long.
You're wasting my
Yeah,
time.
I think 5 years
5
you
years,
were
exactly.
pushing it with that one. I think the correct one should have been, what about if it was like a year or two? Then I'd be like, yeah, it's time to be single. So.
But what if they were in a relationship with, or what if they were still in love with that person, but that person was already in another relationship?
It's time for them
Yeah,
to still be
single
single.
because your heart wants to be with someone else.
Yeah.
Your heart wants to
It
be
don't
with
matter
someone
the
else.
other person with someone else or not.
They could be in the same relationship, still in love with that person. They could be in love with this person too, and then you're sitting there with egg in your face when they get back together.
Well, what if they don't get back together?
We don't know. I wouldn't know because
You wouldn't want to put yourself in
I'm not putting myself in that
position. Okay,
We're
that's
not,
fair.
We're not putting myself.
That is fair. That's a fair question. That was an interesting question. I mean, to be honest,
That wasn't interesting. You weren't pushing it with the 5 years.
I had to push because, to be honest, I
You're like, hello? Like 10
Yeah.
years and he's still in love?
because I mean the reality is, as you guys know,
So you were talking about, so you're with me, you love me, but you're in the other room looking at this one's Facebook and like seeing your status and
Yeah, no. That's
Is it
do
possible?
you think you should still be in a relationship
Right.
with somebody if you do that?
I don't. But let me ask you this: is it possible to love two people at the same time?
That's a good question.
I think some people may say that you can. Me personally, I don't think that you can. Simply because, well, for me, when I love somebody, or in love, when I'm talking about romantic love, because I love multiple people for sure. But when I'm talking about in love, I can only give myself mentally to one person at a time. Because it takes a lot to be in love with somebody.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I can be in love with multiple people at the same time.
Well,
for me.
I think that when you say multiple people at the same time, it gives the impression that it's more than two.
Well, okay, well, to another person. Well, that's what I'm referring to.
Because
Another person, like if an ex or just another person.
I feel like it's tough, you know. It's like I feel like it is possible to a degree to love two people, especially if, let's say that you were with someone, you guys genuinely love each other, but you also just knew it just wouldn't work out, you know, but you wanted to be with that person, so on and so forth. And even more so if you had children with that person. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
even one reason why you
Even
probably need to figure that out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm just saying I think that it is possible though that a person can be in a position to love two people. Now, for people who are, you know, obviously emotionally sound, and what I mean by emotionally sound is you are in a right frame of mind where you're able to see things objectively, you tend to have already had counseling, you don't really have any major emotional damage, it might come across much easier to simply say, well, no, I only will be with more than one person. But there are people who are in situations where life has just been tough. And, you know, they may not have ever seen a real, healthy, functional relationship, you see? And so if that's true, then I think that they can still recognize, hey, I love this person, you see what I'm saying? But, you know, I know we can't work out, but we'll forever love each other. But I want to still continue my life and be with, you know, and let's say I just simply, you know, resolve in my heart that we're not going to be together for whatever the reasons are. And I'm going to be with this person who can still give me a happy life. You know? So, I mean, it's...
But to that question, yeah, I do believe somebody can love two people at the same time. I do believe it because I feel like if you do love like two different people, there's probably certain parts of those two people that you love so much that you can't do without.
Yeah.
But it ain't happening.
Yeah. Ultimately,
It's possible, but it ain't happening over here. Okay, so you and Jill Marie get your somewhere else because it ain't happening.
I thoroughly agree.
But I do believe when people say that they are in love with two different people, I do believe that could happen, but that ain't happening.
Yeah. In reference to if you're on the receiving end of that in a relationship, it's time.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not fair ultimately to you as the person, you have to now feel like you're splitting attention between two people, you know. So that's it. Here goes our dog, our family dog, Jomo. Everybody say hi.
Jomo, say hi.
Can we say hi? Can we say everybody? There you go. All right. So, a woman is married to a man who's not her biological father. I'm sorry. A woman.
Oh my God, this time.
Yeah.
This time. Dark.
Yeah. So, a woman is married to a man who's not her child's biological father.
Okay.
He leaves because she will not let him discipline the child who is wrong.
That's sticky.
Man, I'm gonna tell you this, to be honest with you. And you guys may disagree with me, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. Put it in the comments. Let me know why. But I think that as a man, it is your duty to, and as a good man, let's be clear with that. As a good man, it is your job to establish a level of structure in your home, whatever that structure may look like. You know, because we understand that gender roles are different. Different people have different perspectives on that. But as for me, under what I consider a traditional gender role, you know, male husband, if I were, you know, with somebody, you know, and they had a child, but I could not, you know, do my part to help raise this child, especially if her biological child is another son, you know, another boy, you know, I think that's a problem for me because it undermines who I am as a man. Now, it does not mean to overstep the other, you know.
I was just about to say, is there another father?
Yeah, if the biological father is in the picture, I still believe there is a level of discipline that I can do. It doesn't mean I have to go all the way, but I do all, you know, and I also think that, you know, it's healthier if you communicate with the biological father.
Right.
But not everybody is in a position to have a healthy conversation with their child, with their stepchild's biological father, you know, or mother for that matter. So in this situation, if there is no healthy dialogue, I still think that, you know, if she's undermining you, it kind of makes me now ask the question, well, why did I marry you in the first place? Or why am I with you in the first place? Because I can't be the man that I said that I wanted to be in your life, that you claim, because I'm pretty sure that those at least should be conversations that you had, you know, before you know, got into an official relationship. So if it's like you said, I can, you know, do up to this certain point, and now you're turning around and not letting me do that or undermining what I'm saying, you know, and that's a problem, especially if it's with a teenage child versus a younger child.
And that child could use that to some extent to cause disharmony. So I mean, me personally, I think that before you even get married to that person, to that woman, I think that y'all need to have a discussion about what discipline and boundaries and all that stuff looks like. Because I've seen a lot of marriages crumble because
or just relationships.
I've seen a lot of them crumble because there was a lot of differences in parenting, especially when you're talking about blended families. That's a whole nother
dynamic. That's a different dynamic, man.
And then you're adding in the fact that possibly this child does have another, you know, biological father or biological parent that is active. So now it's like, what does that look like? I feel like all of this a conversation needs to be had between the mother, the biological father, and you, so y'all can all be on the same page on what your role is, what that looks like, you know, because some people are like, no, I parent my child fine, and I don't need you to do that. And some step parents, they're completely okay with that. You know, they play with the kids, they pick them up from school, they do all of that, and that's where it ends for them. They're cool with that. And then you have others who do want to be more involved and invested in all that. So I mean, I guess it just depends on what that looks like for your family. And I think before you even think about marriage, these are conversations that need to be had. before you even think about that.
Yeah, it is important. Like I know like it's really hard to have these conversations, but communication is so important. I just feel like even at the beginning, once you know that your other person has a kid, or even before you even get married, like Jedi said, there definitely needs to have a conversation to be said for your significant other and the biological parent as well. There needs to be some type of communication, and then in that communication, however long before you get married, you definitely need to make a decision on whether or not you feel like that's the situation for you. So yeah, it's really important. If you already if you are coming into a marriage and decide you want to get married, but know the situation already, that that is your decision as an adult.
Yeah.
But always look at the red flags.
Yeah.
Always ask questions. You gotta ask the questions.
The hard.
You have to ask the questions. It is so important. And I think if anybody would ask me that question, I said communication is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can also, and this is also honestly one of the reasons why you have some men, and some women for that matter, who say they don't want to date someone with children.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, everyone deserves love. If you have if you're a person who has children, you absolutely deserve a person who will do their required part in that relationship. But also understand that a person who does not have children, they have that right. And I can understand, at least, the reason why they have that right not to want to get into that type of situation. Simply because it's not always a simple way of navigating, that person's, a romantic relationship with that person if they have children, let alone if they have more than one child. Because it can become a little bit more challenging, and if there are more than one particular biological parent involved, in that relationship. And so, because I was getting ready to just ask the question, like, what's more difficult? Dating someone who does have a child that has biological parents involved, or dating someone who does have a child but who does not have their biological parents involved?
I just think it depends on the relationship. Because the thing is, some may say, oh, one is easier, one isn't. Because the thing about the biological parents still being involved, now you have another person that you need to discuss and talk about how you're going to parent this child. But then the other part is a person that's not like another parent that isn't involved. Now you have to deal with the parent who's been parenting this child the way that they think. Maybe that doesn't align with the way that you think. So, and it's their biological child, and they feel like this is how we should parent because this is my biological child. So I think both have their challenges. So I just think that it just depends on the relationship, what you can handle, or what you're okay with.
That's fair. That's fair. I was getting ready to ask, for another time, we can certainly talk about it, but the question I was going to ask is, or you can answer it now, is, do you think that would be fair for a person who does not have kids to then get into a relationship with someone who already has children, but that person does not want additional kids?
I mean, some people don't want kids, so that works.
Well, what I'm saying is the person wants kids.
Oh, then no,
That person wants kids.
You need to do anything, right?
Let's get to the feeling. Right. Yeah, we need to.
You need to go find another person that wants children. Whether they have kids or not, you need to be with the person that want to have kids.
Yeah.
If they don't want to have kids, then you need to just be with the person.
If you have a particular goal in life and you meet somebody and they don't have the same goal as you should not be going for it. You shouldn't be going for it at all. Because now you're in a situation now where you are now forcing someone to have kids that don't want kids. Like, what kind of a relationship? I don't think it's mine.
Yeah, that can be tough.
And then you're always butting heads.
And then there's people that like later on down the line change their mind and say, I think I may want kids now, but your goal is, you gotta make sure you're with a partner that is going to, be supportive of whatever, even if you change your mind down the road.
Is it fair to change your mind down the road to that person? Like, especially if you're in a relationship. Fair. Well, what I'm saying is, like, you've invested in a relationship, right? Like, okay, fine. So if you are not married, I think that it's tough, but it's okay if you decide you want to change your mind.
Right.
That you do that. Let's say you did want to have kids before, but now you're saying you don't. It's unfair, I think, to the person who was in that relationship because they were with you and invested their time in you for all of those years with the expectation that you were about to have children with them. And then you suddenly just change your mind and decide, oh, I don't want to have kids anymore.
I don't think it's a matter of fair. I do think it's a matter. Well, no, I mean, it sounds unfair, but people are allowed to change their minds. I just think that you need to be open and honest and tell that person so that they can make a decision what they want to do with their lives.
Okay, fine.
You are allowed to change your mind.
Okay, so I'm not saying that you're not allowed to change your mind. What I'm saying is, if you've already invested X amount of time, especially if it's years, and you did not communicate with that other person until later that you do not want kids, it's unfair that that person had to be on that same boat with you.
Yeah, but you didn't communicate that. That's what I'm saying. If you knew years ago that you didn't want kids, or you wanted kids, whatever, and you communicated that years later, then yeah, I think that is unfair. But if you decide years later, like, don't think I want that, or wait, I do actually want that, I think that you communicating with them and telling them, hey, this is what you want or don't want, that's not wrong.
Should you break up then if
that person is allowed to do whatever they feel is necessary? The other person,
I'm not encouraging breaking up. But if your goals are no longer aligned,
then you have to you have to be okay with whatever that other person wants. If that other person says, well, I want kids, so that's not negotiable for me, then you may have to be okay with the fact that you guys may not, continue.
Does that same thing apply in marriage?
Yes.
My thing is, as much as it hurts, in a marriage, if you're just gonna live the rest of your life resenting somebody, you're making a choice to do that. Instead of actually being in love and being in a marriage, if you're just going to be angry and resent and be like, oh, this person doesn't want to do this, and if you're choosing to have that for the rest of your life, it's totally up to you.
I can see that. It's only
for
tough.
your mental health. I don't think it's a good idea.
Or for your happiness, because you can't, like, the thing about it is, if that person, you come to your spouse and you're like, hey, I want to have a kid, and you guys agreed years ago that you didn't want to have one, now you're forcing me to have a child. Now you're wondering why the parent is yelling at the kid and they don't have a relationship with them and all this stuff, because they didn't want it and you forced it on them, and they didn't want it in the marriage because you wanted kids, so they're like, I'm gonna give you your child because this is what you want, but it's not what they wanted. You know what I mean? So it's like, at that point, you have to accept the fact that that person may be like, well, that's just not what I want, and I don't want to live my life feeling like I have to give you something that I know that I don't want, or I don't have the capacity to give.
Okay.
Yeah, then you end up having kids, and then the mother hates every minute of it after it. Oh man, I don't know. I have known women that have done that, made the sacrifice, had children when they didn't want to.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can feel
It's
that.
hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. I'm not saying they can't turn it around, and but there's some women who are not really as maternal as others, but feel like because I'm in love, I'm just gonna do it, and then after a while, you never know. It will test your marriage. I will tell you, it will be a test.
Yeah.
There will be a test.
I just think you need to just, be honorable to how you feel in that moment. And if you know that you cannot give that, then you probably just need to reflect and figure out if there's something you need to do.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair. How about this? Would you ever propose to a man or accept a proposal from a woman? Why? My answer.
I ain't never.
What?
You propose to a man.
Would you ever propose to a man
Okay.
or accept a proposal from a woman? Why or why not?
I'm
And
sorry.
this question is for a woman?
Well, it's for
I
both.
think it's for
one
both.
or the other.
For the guy to accept a proposal from a woman.
I'm not proposing. I'm just not. And honestly, no shade to the women that do. You go, girl. But
More power to you.
I'm just not, because I really truly believe when a man findeth a woman, he findeth a good thing. So I just,
Amen.
so I just really believe, like, and honestly, it's men, they're
I feel like it's their duty
It's
to
their
be
duty.
able to
It's their
ask.
hunter. You are lead. I feel like, to me, the proposal is that's like the stature of your relationship. This is how this man is gonna lead in this relationship.
Right.
So it's like, for me, you have said, "Hey, I want you to be my wife, and this is how I'm gonna lead our family." And that's how I view a proposal. So for me to come to you and be like, "I want you to be my husband, and this is how I'm gonna lead my family," it's like, I just feel like, I don't know, it just don't sit right with me.
I feel that.
It don't sit right with me.
What do you think?
I feel like in this day and age, I don't think I would be opposed to not proposing to a man. I just don't. I can't really say I would never want to. I don't know. I feel like I would have to be in like a situation where I feel like, okay. Well, I feel like I would have to pick him. I would have to ask questions first around it. Like, ask him, do you see a forever with me? Or, if I feel like, I don't know. I guess it's just the romantic in me too. That I am cool with doing. I feel like I would be cool with proposing.
I feel like the guy.
Would you get on one knee?
Would I get on one knee? I don't think so. I think that if I were to propose to a man, I think it would be something meaningful, and I would do it in a way where it's like, it's more romantic, and I feel like I want him to feel special. I want him to feel like I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Like,
I feel like
I'm not opposed to it. I wouldn't get down on one knee. Maybe it'll be a nice little dinner, and I'll show you a nice little ring and say, "Hey, I want this to be forever. Like, you're my guy." And if he says, he wants time, it is what it is. But I'm not opposed to it.
I feel like,
I'm not opposed to it.
to some degree, from my point of view, it seems like women know. I feel like from my point of view, some people wouldn't read that if you're wanting to propose to the guy as, oh, well, he probably really didn't want to be, if he's not serious enough to want to make you his, permanently. I see how it could be read that way. But the reason why I wouldn't is because I feel like, for me personally, it was my dream. A lot of times you hear a woman say, "Oh, it's my wedding. It's my, that's my dream." But as a guy, it's the proposing is my dream. I have, set up the time, thought about, where to do it, how to do it. And honestly, if you were to have proposed to me, I would say no. I would.
Even though you wanted marry me?
Of course, because I feel like it's my job, So what I would
turn
do,
around and propose.
I would probably turn around and propose.
I would say no.
Well,
Maybe it's a situation where maybe I don't do it in public. Maybe I would do it in like
Privately.
I like maybe him and I went on a trip or something and just saying, "Hey, like, you're my forever. Like, I really love you. I would love to spend the rest of my life." But like I said, I like to poke around and ask questions first.
Yeah.
And if I kind of gauge that, this is where it's happening. I don't know. I feel like I can't say no, hell no. I don't feel that in my heart that I would say hell no. I would never do that.
Now, I'm not saying I would be angry either.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me, and I'm sorry, it's like I wouldn't be angry that you asked me. Some guys may be angry that you asked. I would not be angry personally, I probably even honestly feel sheepish that you asked me. You know?
Some guys will be like, "That is so sweet."
You know, and then there's some guys don't mind it. You
And
know,
they'll
they'll
come
be
around
like,
and give you a reason
Yeah.
to follow me. But me, to me, I feel like it doesn't really.
yeah. So
I
I
don't
want to
think it's
adequately.
emasculating or anything.
No,
I don't
it's-
think it's emasculating. I just think that for me, I just feel like that's something I would want him to do, and it just feels right for me. Just like it feels right for you, just in the way you're doing it. Because some women are like, no, I want to get on one knee and I want to do that. And I'm like,
Basketball
no, but
games.
that's what I'm saying. Right.
Word.
Some women know what I'm wearing that day.
Yeah.
Because if I'm on a dress, I'm
And
not
then
next
it's
to you.
like, I
But
don't
we
know.
sitting and we having like a nice little candlelight dinner on a little rooftop, and we all dressed up, and I got some balloons for you, and I got some champagne for you. But like, I want you to be my man. Like,
I ain't even gonna lie. I would be like,
I would be like, look at the ring I got you. I'm like, my delivery will be more so. I'm gonna be like, hey, you gonna be my husband.
you gonna be
forever.
my husband.
My delivery is a little bit more.
I'm like,
Okay.
I want the man to I feel like a man should experience. I feel like a man should experience.
Yeah.
You know, somebody, like.
Yeah.
I still think you need to propose.
I'm not opposed to you.
What I would
if
do-
he propose, I'm cool.
Yeah.
If I propose, I'm cool.
What I would do is, if it happened to me the way you described, I would be sheepish, and I would probably even say yes.
Okay, so
But I would be, no, you're not. Yeah, I
I
would
would put some pictures of us. I'll be like,
Yeah.
you gonna be like, what's going on, girl?
Yeah. I would say yes, but then I would get on my knee at that point.
Oh,
And then,
like,
like,
your husband.
be-
You gotta take the reins, son. You're gonna be my wife.
Yeah. That was good. All right, would you? I already did that one.
the last question.
Last question. All right, let's see. Of the questions, what's the best one then? No. All right, I'll do this one. A woman is leaving her relationship because her spouse says he no longer is physically attracted to her.
Okay.
Is this a responsible action?
Ooh,
That is a dumb thing to do.
that is a very dumb
Do you know how many women I have seen turn around after something like that and then just outright blow?
So my problem with this is, right, when you say vows, you're saying for richer, for more,
That's true.
for sickness and health, for, like, you're literally saying, do anything, I'm gonna stand by your side, right? And as women, a lot of times, we sacrifice our bodies for children and all of that comes along with that. And then it's like, you're adding all of that stuff, and then when I'm not the same woman that you fell in love with or the same woman that you were dating, you then say, I want to exit the marriage? So is it really through thick and thin, through everything?
I mean, that's true.
And I'm not
could
saying
use
that you
that same
don't have an
argument.
authority. I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep up with yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But things happen. Things happen over years. Things change. Things shift. It's inevitable to some extent for some people. But it's like, that doesn't mean that you just give up on a relationship. Why not have a conversation about it?
Well, I mean, I do think it's important to like have that conversation. I think having a conversation is certainly important, but I also feel like sometimes the reality is that you have some ladies and some men, for that matter, who just let themselves go.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with them being depressed. It's just simply, I got the person, and now that I got the person, I really don't want to do anything. And I feel like to a degree it is kind of unfair if the person, your partner, talks about what their concerns are, and all the person keeps saying is, well, if you love me, you'll just be with me. Some people like to throw that out. Well, if you love me, then you'll be with me good through thick and thin. And they're still not doing anything to allow themselves to do better. So I think the better question is, when that person walks out, is it that they walked out towards the early portion of your relationship, or was it they walked out after years of trying to get things to get better? Because then, on the flip
And
side,
what is the conversation
Yeah.
about getting better? Because just because you were saying, "Hey, I don't like the way you look," that's not the conversation.
yeah, if you're just saying that, then that's not cool.
It's not
You
the
know,
conversation.
but I also think it's kind of messed up if, let's say that you spent your whole time not doing anything to get together to look good, but then suddenly that person leaves, and now you get yourself together as kind of like, oh, now look at me, I'm good. It's kind of like, it's not fair, you know. I mean, sure, the person certainly shouldn't have just left for that either, you know. But if he was trying to work on getting you together the whole time,
But I just don't think that. So I don't think leaving is the end all be all. I don't think that should even be into play. Especially because my thing is too that sometimes if a woman or a person for that matter, but I'm saying women specifically because women sometimes go through postpartum depression and stuff like that, and that sometimes could take years to get over. So it's like even if he is telling her, trying to help her for years, some stuff is mental that you can't just get over so easily. So I think that it's gonna take time, and I don't think that just because you don't like it now that.
yeah, what you said was absolutely right. Thank you so much. I mean, for what you were saying, I really appreciated it. You know, your thoughts. You know, let us know exactly what it is that you all think. These are great questions. As I said again, you know, they are. Where are they? Where is it? Oh, here we go. It is again relationship debates. You know, as I've mentioned before. Put your comments down below. Let us know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. We look forward to seeing you next time. Let us know what you thought about this conversation. If you want to see more, if you want more content, want more topics, feel free to comment below. Thank you so much. Have a good day. We look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.